a few years back, at the age of 65, signed a professional baseball contract, and he could still bring it, from what I understand. So let me introduce Mike Walsh, and Mike, the podium is yours.
Thank you, Jim. And it's a genuine pleasure to have Bill with us today. He is a New England icon, although it's in baseball rather than basketball. One of the reasons that Bill joins us today is that the New England Basketball Hall of Fame is considering extending its umbrella to include the sports of baseball and softball. I suspect I was chosen to be the interviewer because I was at Fenway Park on June 25th, 1969, when Bill made his Major League debut. It was a twilight doubleheader midweek against the Cleveland Indians, and Bill pitched 3 innings of relief. And the rest is, as they say, baseball history. Welcome, Bill.
Thank you very much. 5 2/3 innings of relief.
Okay.
I know I went through the lineup once, but Pat McKernan, I'm in Pittsfield, and I don't go on the road trip, and I wonder why, and I find out that day I'm being called up to pitch to, they needed pitching like they do now, and they called me up, and they said, how do you get there? They said, just get on I-90, go down, and the ballpark's on your right. You'll drive right by it. And I took the first right off the ballpark, and I took another right to head to the ballpark, and I ended up in Cambridge. And across the Mass Avenue Bridge, I could see the lights. I came back around there, and I didn't know Starro Drive and didn't know anything, so I kind of did my dead reckoning that you do out on the West Coast, and I ended up at Boston College. Finally, I parked the car and walked over to the stadium, and I was there for about an hour and a half, and next thing you know, I'm warming up in the bullpen with all those guys, and I'm pitching. Nagy got knocked out, and I'm pitching against Dirty Duke Sims of the Cleveland Indians, and he hits a 2-2 pitch down in the corner for a double, but Flaherty is so old, he turns around, he doesn't see it, he calls it foul. So Sims runs down, bumps up against him, which now would be a 5-game suspension. And they call it a foul ball. I comes back, I walk him, and then a big right-handed hitter. You remember who that guy was? Tony Horton. Tony Horton hits a foul ball home run against me, wrenches his back. They call the trainers out. It takes him 10 minutes to get him off the field. Can't continue. His replacement, I walk. So I walked the first 2 guys I faced in the big leagues. And then comes Ken the Hawk Harrelson up and hits a 2-2 pitch in the left field for a base hit. The only trouble is George Scott cut it off. Goes to second for 1, first double play. Welcome to the big leagues, And I go, it was easy to pitch in the big leagues. All you had to do is throw the ball over the plate, and they had these guys out there with gloves, and they used to run them down. I thought it was a lot easier than the minor leagues.
Well, Bill, you're one of the more colorful players to ever wear a Major League uniform, and most of the folks in our audience know you from your spaceman persona. But you were a terrific Major League pitcher. I think I have this right. You won 119 games, lost 90. You were an all-star, and your career ERA is 3.62.
At Fenway Park.
That's pretty impressive.
Usually, yeah. No, I was good. My dad said, you're Irish, you're Catholic, you drink a lot, all you got to do is keep your mouth shut. I go, 3 out of 4 ain't bad. So I was named player rep immediately, and then I was American League player rep immediately because I studied economics at the University of Southern California. And Marvin Miller took a liking to me, and we came up with arbitration, and we tapped the reserve clause, and we took salaries from, I was making $9,500, and within 5 years, the average salary was up around $72,000, and you can see why the owners didn't like me. Marvin Miller is 10-0 in court, 10-0, and he's not in the Hall of Fame. And who was the commissioner back then? That lawyer from New Jersey that went bankrupt.
Bowie Kuhn.
Bowie Kuhn. Bowie Kuhn is 0-10 and he's in the Hall of Fame. How can that be? And it just drives me nuts. But Marvin and I were very close. Dick Moss, you know, and Joe Torre was the National League player rep, and he continued on managing, became a great manager, and I became a logger up in northern Vermont. And it works out for me because I continue to play, you know. I wanted to be a basketball player. I went to USC, I was on a baseball scholarship, and I played on the freshman team at USC, and then Rod Dato said, Tiger, you can't be playing two sports. You know, you got to work on your grades in the winter, and we'll take care of you during the summer, you know. And I found out that SC is a paid institution, and I ended up playing there, and I won 38 games, took them to the national championship, won the College World Series in '68, and then immediately signed with the Boston Red Sox, and the rest is history, I guess. But I love Vermont. I'm a New Englander. I love the winter. That's when you can cut trees down. They love to be cut in the winter because they don't feel a thing. Neither do I. I look like a tree hugger, but I hug them right before I find out if they're like 22 inches in diameter, and then I cut them.
Bill, my hope was that you would give us the full Bill Lee, and you're certainly delivering on that. I thought the best thing to do is just throw out some topics that are usually associated with you and let you respond in your unique Bill Lee fashion. So, the nickname, Spaceman, a name that initially you did not like.
No. Harry Nielsen said around and around and around and around, it's all a bunch of lunacy. You know, bring me back down to Mother Earth. Bring me back down to the ground. You have to take your own oxygen supply up there. We're humans. We have to breathe oxygen. We have to have fresh water, things that we're not doing well on this planet. So I kind of took it with disdain. But I was named that by a guy named John Kennedy, not the president. He was a red-ass little third baseman who had made a date with a divorcee in Baltimore, couldn't get to his locker. I threw 8 2/3 innings of relief for Louis Tion. He left me with the bases loaded, and with 2 runs in, I got a double play, got out of the inning, Belanger hit it, struck, I got out of that inning, and I went out and got 2 base hits, won the ball game. I think we won it 9-3, 9-4. We went into first place, and we landed on the moon that night. It was the second moon landing. So they're all talking, and John Kennedy couldn't get to his locker because the press was all around me. And it all boils down that I get named the Spaceman because of a horny third baseman. Goofy. So that's the short story, and it was just a tragedy. You know, I kind of embraced it in a way. You know, it's kind of like Jon Stewart. You can call the president or anybody, you know, and you can be the court jester and call them anything you want and still keep your head. And I think that's a great thing, to be able to have that power. And I used it. I used it with the press. I used it with when Judge Arthur Garrity did it in 1975. We had the big trouble with the busing issue, and I was the guy who stood up for Judge Arthur Garrity, and I had to have the Winter Hill gang came to my house in Stoughton. You know, people don't realize that I was persona non grata with the Boston Red Sox at that time. Was it Louis Days Hicks and the other Dapper O'Neill? Dapper O'Neill sent me a letter, and he said, we have enough problems in this town without you. And he said, we have a Cyrillus problem. You know, and he said, I could pitch better than you in my best days, D-A-C-E. And I wrote back to him, and I said, Dapper, someone's stolen your stationery and writing me letters. So, anyway, I wasn't too well liked by a lot of them. And I'm Irish, and I'm Catholic, and I drink a lot, you know, so go figure. But, you know, I was outspoken at my time, and it was a time of, you know, think of the '75 World Series, 40 years ago. What happened 40 years ago? Fall of Saigon, right? Boston Red Sox and the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Three iconic moments in American, it's just the time we lived in, and I just reacted, and that's what I do to this day. I have no jewelry, I have no watch, I have no cell phone, I've never had that, and I don't have a computer. And I got here.
Very good.
And I buried 2 bikers on the way on Route 12. Honest to God. They got hit at the dump up at the little town outside of Keene. And they're laying there without helmets on. One of them's deader than a doornail, and that's why it says live free or die. Don't move to New Hampshire, it's a trap. And sign your donor card if you do. I don't know the outcome of this contest either, but I'm going to the Elliott Lounge. I drank for free for 20 years. Tommy Leonard and I became best friends, and Don Gullett didn't go to the Hall of Fame. I think Don Gullett's no longer with us, and Sparky Anderson was the bat boy for Rod Dato and the USC Trojans. People don't realize that. Sparky Anderson was the bat boy for my coach. He learned everything he did from Rod Dato. Rod Dato and Casey Stengel were friends. Rod Dato played for John McGraw. I am a direct descendant of John McGraw. I am the only person that can lead the Red Sox out of the wilderness. And they are stuck in the wilderness. When you play $12 million for a leadoff hitter that swings at a ball that hits him in the kneecap, you gotta be kidding. Look at the money they make nowadays. But I should have been a basketball player. I just was a little too slow to be a guard, and I wasn't big enough to be a forward, but I never met a shot I didn't like.
Bill, on your baseball career, you've mentioned that your aunt, Annabelle Lee, who played in the girls' professional baseball league, taught you how to pitch. Is that true?
Yes, my dad was an engineer for the telephone company. He built the coaxial cable that went between San Francisco and LA. He was gone a lot. My aunt had played professional ball, threw the first woman to throw a perfect game, and the first woman to throw a no-hitter over the top. And she and I have arm slots that are identical, and she was a tremendous athlete. Probably the best in our family by far. My dad was good. My grandfather played 14 years in AAA for the Hollywood Stars. Baseball was in my blood. My grandmother broke her leg sliding into second at the age of 47, and it comes naturally. Annabelle was a treasure, beautiful woman, and whatever she did well. She was an amazing athlete. I was blessed to be raised by her when my father was away. My father taught me a lot. He taught me perseverance, and he was Irish Catholic. My mother was the smart one in the family. All of her uncles was Hunt, Ball, Hart and Brown, the law firm. Edmund G. Brown was a junior partner in my uncle's law firm. So I come from a pretty smart side on my mom's side of the family, and I come from a real tough side on my dad's side of the family. And I think that's what were our genes. I bet there's only 40 sets of genes on the planet Earth. And most of us, if you go back in time, don't go to Ancestry.com. Do it on your own. Go back to Scotland, go back to Ireland, go back to wherever you came from. If you're from, there's 2 sets of genes in Africa too. One from the Transvaal and one from the western side. And there's a lot of stuff you can learn about your family. And you get the time, travel. Go out and see that. See the planet Earth, and maybe you'll think the way I do, and be an Earth first person. Save the water, save the air. I'm not too concerned about the people on the planet. I think we'll be all right in the long run. But we got to wash away the borders. We can't build walls. We've got to tear walls down. And that's what my whole life has been. A sans frontier, en français.
Mike, why don't we open it up for questions?
Yes. Questions? I got questions. Is Stevie Coates here yet? His son's going to be elected in He's a basketball. I used to play basketball with him and jam it down his throat back when he was like 8 years old. And then he put these springs. He's one of the first guys to ever put springs in the bottom of his shoe. And he's only like 5'8", and boy, could he rebound. He went to Keene State, and he was a great basketball player. He's going to be you have any elections coming up, too?
Yes, he'll be inducted this evening. That's right.
So he's not here yet. Yes.
What do you think about steroid folks getting into the Hall of Fame, and should Pete Rose be allowed in?
Everybody in this room's on steroids. Everybody's had a Purdue chicken. Anybody ever had Purdue chicken? Anybody had a glass of milk with DST in it? Bovine growth hormone shot up by Monsanto? I have. My head's a lot bigger than my dad's. When I took the ring off my father when he died, when I took his wedding ring on, it would only go over my little finger down to the first knuckle. I am so much bigger than my father. And it's all because of our diet and what they put in our fast foods and what they put in our additives and everything in our diet. And now we're putting down a guy like Barry Bonds. I mean, he's a jerk. And I knew him when he was a kid, and I played with his dad, and his dad and I were best buddies and stuff. I jammed Barry Bonds at Arizona State when I was trying out for the Giants. He said, "You gray-haired old man, why don't you challenge someone, throw him a fastball?" So I dropped down, I threw him a three-quarter fastball in on his hands at Arizona State with that aluminum bat. He hit it so close to his fingers, he went down on one knee and cried. So I know Bonds personally and stuff, and I don't care what he took, the Balfour guy and all that type of stuff. If anybody told me that I could put a drop under my tongue and throw a no-hitter tomorrow, I'm there. I won at 65 years of age. I threw a complete game, and I kissed the ground on my high school field in California at the age of 65. I kissed the ground after I threw 9 innings. And I begged. They were going to take me out in the 7th. They were going to take me out and take me out in the 9th. And I just said, one more hitter, one more hitter. I was like Oliver Twist. Give me one more hitter. And I got out. I got a double play. I got a jam shot. The second baseman made a diving catch and everything. How did I do that? I did it because I breathed in my left nostril and I breathed out my right nostril. I breathe in my right nostril. Breathe out my left nostril. I know yoga, I know Pilates, and I take a leave every 6 hours. And they tell me Vioxx will kill you. They said Vioxx is bad and Bextra is bad. And they go, what's the drawbacks? They said, well, it'll cause heart attack. I go, excuse me? What's the drawback? Come on. You know, we're all going to die of something. No one gets out of here alive. Jim Morrison of the Doors, right? Riders in the sky. We're all riders in the sky. Our spheroid is rotating right now. You cannot believe how much your ass has moved since I started talking.
What about Pete Rose?
What about Pete Rose? A gambler and a jerk, and he's like, he is the Donald Trump of baseball. He'll sell anything. He'll go bankrupt 1,000,000 times. If he sells the bat, he sold the bat that he broke the record with 12 times. George Foster sold the ball that Fisk had to pay his income taxes in the state of Connecticut. People don't know this stuff. I know it. And I remember. Everything's a scam out there. You've got to realize that. Pete Rose is the worst thing about him is he's dyed his hair black. I could tolerate it when it was that rose tint. You know, no pun intended. But I've known Pete Rose. I knew his first wife when his wife had his girlfriend arrested for driving her Rolls Royce after the '75 World Series. She was tough. Pete ain't tough. His first wife was tough. Yeah, and steroids. Trust me, we're all on them. It's all in our diet. You know, you got to take care of your water supply. That's why I moved to northern Vermont. I live on a ridge, which used to be the boundary between Upper Canada Village and the United States before the War of 1812. I live on that ridge for a reason. The water flows in both directions. One side flows to Canada, the other side flows to the United States. No one lives above me. The water is perfect. That's the first thing I look for. I knew the air was good, and it's on the first ridge into the United States. And I have not ventured over that ridge until today.
We appreciate it, Bill.
Any more questions? Yeah, I'm a person of the planet Earth. We all are. We all got to get together. We're here, and we got to learn to cooperate and slow down and be flexible. I still play because I'm flexible. I'm a logger. I go into the woods. I exercise at least twice a day. Cowens and I were best buddies. I was going to ask him a question about the time we were drinking at the theatrical, but we weren't going to go down that road. Anybody ever played in Cleveland in the 70s? The Cuyahoga is burning. I woke up on July 4th in Cleveland and I thought everybody was dead. You ever see the movie On the Beach with Neville Shute? One of the great.
Well,
Please keep in mind that Bill Lee is also an author of 4 books, so you can acquire his books and learn a little bit more about him. Bill, thanks for sharing so much.
thank you, Bill.